Off then. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Reinventing Product Discovery with myself, Charlotte, who's the head of marketing here at StoryStream. And then I'll let Alex and Zach introduce themselves too.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name's Alex Fady. I'm the CEO, founder at StoryStream. Delighted to be part of today's webinar and looking forward to talking to Zach.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zach. I'm Senior Content Solutions Manager at Primark. To de-jargon that slightly bizarre title for you, it means I'm responsible for all the systems and operation that go into launching products on the website, all product content, and I'm sure for the purposes of today, I'm in charge of the Primania program, which is our user-generated content program.
Awesome. Thanks both. Yeah, I know we're very excited for your fireside chat later. So that brings me on to our very simple agenda today. So I just wanted to lay out what you can expect from today. So to kick things off, we're going to give you an introduction into what we're seeing in terms of this discovery shift, in terms of how people find and buy and discover products, where they're getting their inspiration from, and how this translates into fashion e-commerce sites. And then we'll be followed by that lovely fireside chat between Zach and Alex. So I won't waste any more time and we'll jump straight in. So yeah, hello. I'll be kicking this bit off and we're going to talk about the discovery shift. So here we're at StoryStream, we're seeing a massive evolution in how consumers interact with e-commerce. And we're going to explore how technology can help fashion brands adapt to this new reality. So first, we need to start by acknowledging a hard truth. And that's that how shoppers find products has changed fundamentally. You know, you and I are shoppers as well, and I'm sure that you've started to maybe question your route to finding and discovering products is slightly different. You know, the traditional pathways that are being used to bring traffic to fashion brands' websites are being rewritten, whether that's with social or AI. So that leads me nicely on to where our current key sources of inspiration and discovery are. And that's, you know, they're typically now off-site. So before a shopper ever even types in a brand's URL, they're being influenced by social media or they've had a conversation in chat to get a recommendation. And so the decision-making process is happening on platforms like perhaps ChatGPT, TikTok, Instagram, or perhaps even in store. So there's this full 360, inspiration and discovery process happening before they even get to your website. It's not just happening on your homepage or on a PDP. However, this has started to create a bit of a friction point because search-led shopping isn't necessarily working for fashion brands anymore. You know, most e-commerce websites are built around the assumption that a customer knows what they want, that they're ready to type in specific queries, perhaps like what you can see here, like red dress size 10. But we know this isn't how modern discovery works. So only, the data is really proving this disconnect, and only 1 in 10 consumers say that they actually find what they're looking for when they use this keyword-based search. So that means that actually the vast majority of visitors, which is a big 90% of them, are using this, they're in discovery mode and they're potential lost sales because they're coming to your site. They perhaps don't know exactly what they want. And then they might bounce because they're lacking maybe the inspiration and ideas that they get elsewhere. So this forces us to ask, like, what about the shoppers who could buy then? So we really need to shift our focus towards engaging that other 90% of site traffic, the people who are landing on your site to browse, not just to buy immediately. So what these people, we at StoryStream, believe is that they want ideas, looks, and inspirations, not just filters and grids, which can be typical of a fashion website. They're often looking for a visual experience that yet they're frequently met with like data-heavy spreadsheets of products. So this expectation is really being driven by social, as I've briefly touched on already. So social is in people's daily habits. It's the number one driver of product discovery. The scrollable visual nature of social platforms with peer content, has set the bar for what digital shopping should feel like. People are discovering products unintentionally on TikTok because they're scrolling on TikTok. And in fact, 60% discover products unintentionally on TikTok. They're not actively hunting, but they're passively discovering. And this magic is often missing from standard e-commerce sites. So shoppers are expecting this visual, story-driven experience beyond social as well. They're expecting it everywhere. They want to see dynamic and engaging content like they do on their social feeds and have that same energy translated when they go onto a website. However, they still want the transaction to take place on site. Plus we also have to take into consideration the rise of AI. So visuals are only half the story. Shoppers now expect to chat their way through to the right product. They're moving away from keywords and towards more natural conversations. It's not just red dress, it might be red dress or a dress for a wedding, I should say. And in fact, McKinsey's AI discovery report showed us that over 50% want AI assistance to guide their choices. Shoppers are looking for the digital equivalent of a helpful store associate to navigate them through their catalog. And we can see this. We're already seeing AI fashion assistants gaining significant traction, from Daydream to Mango AI Stylist. I believe Walmart's just released one, not that Walmart's particularly fashion focused, but there's loads of these AI assistants popping up. And the interface of shopping is really evolving from static clicks to more of these dynamic interactions. So it's really becoming clear that AI is becoming a new product discovery layer. When a customer can ask about outfits for a friend's wedding in Italy and get a curated response, perhaps the standard search bar is starting to feel obsolete. So for retailers, this means optimizing for discovery is now essential. You need to move beyond just transaction and optimization for the 10% of those high intent mission-based shoppers and start building for the 90% of browsers and explorers. So we like to call this the inspiration gap. Right now, many brands are suffering from an inspiration gap. There's this jarring disconnect between the dynamic social and AI discovery that brings users in, and then the static transactional e-commerce pages that they land on. And this can be where brands lose shoppers. To fix this, we need to deliver what shoppers expect now, which could be shoppable UGC and shoppable looks, conversational guidance, and visual scrollable content, just like they know and love on social, combined with personalized recommendations. Customers expect sites to know them better and to understand who they are, especially when they're getting that curated experience and responses from AI elsewhere. So your goal should be to build discovery that feels like social, but buys like e-commerce. It needs to be engaging enough to keep shoppers scrolling, but structured enough to convert that interest into a sale. And leading retailers, as I'm sure you guessed, as the wonderful Primark is here with us today, are already doing this. Brands like Primark and we've also got John Lewis, they're partnering with us to solve this exact challenge. And they're bringing social on site. So they're bringing this social style discovery onto their website and integrating authentic content into the web experience, making that inspiration that people know and love instantly shoppable and bridging that inspiration gap. And brands are guiding shoppers with AI to increase conversion and AOV, all embedded in site, allowing customers to express their intent through natural language, asking questions like what to wear on a holiday in Paris. They're uncovering needs that filters simply can't match. Here you've got an example of how an AI visual stylist would work for a brand. It keeps people engaging and discovering beyond the product page and beyond the homepage. So what we call this is a connected journey. It's ultimately this connected journey from inspiration to purchase, combining things like AI chat or endless inspiration and social proof UGC. So you can bridge that gap and turn those 90% of explorers and browsers into active buyers. Now, I've set the scene, but what I'm going to do is shut up and let Alex and Zach talk more about how Primark is bringing this to life with StoryStream. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charlotte. That was a really insightful context and lead into our conversation with Zach. At StoryStream, we are really sort of doubling down on this opportunity and challenge around product discovery and how that's being fundamentally disrupted by the likes of what's been going on social for a number of years now, and new things like AI and conversational commerce. But then there's the reality of what these things mean from actual day-to-day use and value. I think there's a huge amount of buzz around things like agentic commerce and these sorts of things, but there is still a lot for the consumer to get comfortable with doing to kind of make these kind of big leaps in how they're going to buy and discover products. So as much as the future is coming and increasingly here, there is still steps to take to help get to that. And that kind of leads nicely into the work that we've been doing with Primark for a little while now. And Primark are a fascinating brand in all sorts of ways. Household name certainly across the UK and Europe, and increasingly more parts of the world. And the journey that you guys have been on has been fascinating, and it's been really interesting from a StoryStream perspective to start to understand and see how we can help support on parts of that digital transformation you're going through and things. So what I wanted to do today was invite Zach, who's kindly agreed to join our webinar, to I guess have a bit of a conversation around what does product discovery mean for Primark and what's changing in the world, and then talk through some of the things that you've been doing to address some of those opportunities that Charlotte talked through there, particularly around engaging Primark's community and bringing to life product discovery through the eyes and imagery of their customers and things, and then talking a little bit around the future and what's possible. So Zach, thanks again for joining today. Why don't we start off, the digital journey. It wasn't that long ago since Primark didn't have any sort of e-commerce, in inverted commas, but that's been growing as a key channel for you. Perhaps you just talk top line a little bit through your journey, and then tying into like what does product discovery mean, and how is that evolving in the business for you?
Yeah, sure. So it's absolutely worth addressing that, of course, we are very late to this part of retail. It wasn't so long ago that if you were to ask anyone at Primark whether we were going to start playing in the world of e-commerce and transacting online, they would have been adamant that no, we're a bricks and mortar business, and we just don't want to be playing in that space, partly because we want you to come to our stores, but partly also because of our price point and a few other commercial challenges. So it was, of course, the pandemic that caused a few people to change their mind, shall we say. So the ability to be able to transact, be a little bit more robust during challenging times. The decision was taken to build an e-commerce platform, and specifically click and collect. No surprise that it's a click and collect model, of course, because we don't want to be sending you the products. We want you to come into stores, see everything else that we have. So it's probably worth addressing that part of our discovery approach is actually around getting someone to store. So yes, come and see our website. We have about 70% of our entire product catalog on the website at the moment. So still 30% of the things that we have available to our customers not visible on the website. And the idea, of course, is buy those things on click and collect, come into store, and while you're there, have a little mosey around and see what else we have to offer. So it was about 4 years ago, I joined Primark from Argos, having been in various different digital operations and digital content roles with them, and was hired to try and help them set up their digital operation function so that they can run a click and collect model. So I guess that's addressing the elephant in the room, that there will be people and websites on this call that unfortunately I can't see that will be much further along this journey than us. But I think given who we are and our stage in our journey, we may have some fairly interesting approaches and views on the world.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
As far as discovery, sorry,
yeah, sorry, Zach. Yeah, that was my sort of leading question now in terms of like, product discovery. Where's that come from? How do you see that kind of evolving more conceptually, I guess, as a high level?
Yeah, so I think lots of brands listening to this will be in a similar place in terms of the challenges of product discovery. So everybody here will be running some sort of PLP page where, as Charlotte has just mentioned, you have a fairly white, clinical, cold e-commerce experience with somewhat outdated e-com photography, white world model photography. Within that experience, it's worth addressing just some of the challenges that we'll be facing. So I'm sure everyone will be sitting here and sympathize with. We have about 20% of our products driving 80% of the engagement and visits on our website. So just personally, from someone that runs operational teams and has a big stake in the energy and cost that goes into launching products on the website, it's hugely frustrating that we spend so much time to get, as we sit here today, 16,000 products on our website, but 80% of them don't really get much engagement. Now, that is obviously because you have this fairly clinical PLP experience where you scroll down the page, about a quarter of people will get to the bottom and click the load more button, and by the time they reach the 50th product, the engagement and scroll depth really falls off. So part of the work that we've been doing with Alex and StoryStream is how do we address the fact that we spend a huge amount of time and energy and money launching products on our website that fundamentally just don't get the sort of traffic that we need because of somewhat outdated algorithms. So like most people here, our PLPs will be ordered by newness, engagement, and commercial value. But the latter of those three, certainly the last two, are sort of self-fulfilling and cyclical challenges for us. So when something gets the most engagement, it will be at the top, and therefore it will continue to get the most engagement. So one of the things that we've been looking to change is trying to surface different products to customers that isn't shown through our algorithm that we run with our search and merch tool. A key goal of that, or a key enabler of that, I should say, is the Primania program. So our user-generated content gallery. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about it in the.
Yeah, I mean that's a good segue. Why don't we move on to that? I think the point you referenced there is that, I mean, broadly, if you looked at an e-commerce site 20 years ago, fundamentally the experience is not radically different. It's definitely been optimized. It's definitely a lot more efficient and quicker and better on mobile, etc., etc. But the way you engage and discover and feel like you're shopping versus just buying is relatively similar. And that is a huge point of opportunity, I think, that brands and retailers have to think about, going back to the drawing board and really thinking through again. I think the work you guys have been doing on Primania is fascinating. Perhaps give a bit of context about what Primania is, and why kind of the role of community is part of driving product discovery on site.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, Primania is our user-generated content program. I'm sure everyone here is running something similar. The community aspect is interesting, but really it's the style of content that I think speaks to the customer. So to sort of hone in on some of the stuff that Charlotte was saying, there is something fundamentally more engaging with content that influencers and customers will create themselves. It's the reason that we sort of sit there and scroll through social media for quite so long, and we can't get people to get through 2 clicks on a old-fashioned PLP. There is something that speaks to them about the authenticity of that content, and therefore, first and foremost, they are scrolling more. So when someone engages with the Primania gallery, we get them through more products and more clicks than they do if they're just looking through a PLP. But then when they are engaging with that content, we see that the value to us in terms of product discovery is much greater. So circa 80% uplift in PDP views when someone is shopping thank you, Charlotte, a page just like this. So you can see why scroll depth gets so much better. We've got links to products, and certainly from my perspective, in terms of trying to get people to see more of the products that we have spent a lot of time to launch on our website and a lot of energy, just getting this content into that experience and that journey is about an 80% uplift in PDP visits. So really helpful for us. And then, of course, there are conversion benefits as well once we get someone to that product, because they've emotionally attached to it in a way that I think that white world model photography doesn't allow them to do.
And what's been kind of, I guess, the goals in this are to expand this, to kind of integrate this type of content in more parts of the site experience as well. Because I guess one of the things is also doing, particularly if you've got traffic that's discovering the brand or specific products from places like social channels, having this type of content where you land is also a much softer landing, coming from, you know, a very warm fuzzy world of social to, you know, a transactional experience you typically get on e-commerce. This type of content acts to bridge some of that experience. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So I think we've spoken in the past about how engaging and natural your experience on social media is, and then you hit a very white, very clinical PDP with a lack of that sort of engaging content. For us, I guess this content sort of forms 2 key KPI impacting metrics. So we have a view that if you place this sort of content and Primania program up at the top of the funnel of your website, it's visit generating for your products. So as I sort of explained, we're able to get people to see more of the products that we have launched. The one thing that we are certainly playing catch up on at the moment is being able to get that content onto a PDP experience, because that's where we believe it's conversion additive. So being able to get someone to be at the point of making a decision on purchasing and being able to see natural, authentic content that is, you know, one of the points I like to make is models tend to normally all be the same sort of size, not genuinely representative of the population. And what you tend to see when you get some UGC content is you get all sorts of people, all shapes and sizes. And we definitely see an impact there on being able to get someone to emotionally attach and convert on those products.
And what's your kind of thinking around, I think one of the challenges we often get posed with, you know, with one of our core solutions being UGC, you know, scaling. So, you know, getting to kind of PDP levels and things. So I know we're working on some plans around that. You know, is that something you're seeing gaining traction with kind of other parts of the business? Because it's obviously got a lot of different parts of the organization that need to kind of be supportive and inputting into that sort of generation of that content.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there's a lot of hearts and minds to be won in a business the size of Primark's. A lot of red tape, unfortunately, which I'm sure everybody or a lot of people on this call sympathize with. We absolutely have plans. So one of the things that we're looking to do is sort of unlock a bit of a seeding program so that we can get our products out to people. So when we get engagement, people are very passionate. People really love the brand. But one of the challenges we have on that program, this program, is that we just don't have enough content coming in the top of funnel. So we're at sort of 15% of our website at the moment is tagged with UGC content, and we would love to at least double that, so that when we do go live on the PDP, we really see that the impact of that work. Otherwise, it's to an extent hidden because it's just not on enough products.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, that's definitely a key challenge with UGC. I think what we're definitely seeing as an opportunity is thinking about different channels of UGC generation. So there's obviously what's being organically created through platforms like Instagram and TikTok and things, and whatever the community is producing, but actually being more proactive about content generation. So a couple of examples would be, going as part of your post-purchase contact, inviting customers to submit imagery or video based on a bit more of a specific brief of the product they've just bought, because obviously they've bought it, so that's a good way of kind of like being more focused about getting that product coverage. Another big growth is like an employee generated content too. So obviously you've got lots of I'm sure passionate store staff in retail stores. Also, behind the scenes from people working in like the product teams and things like that, actually, like designing and creating products in the studios or those sorts of things, building out a strategy to ask and generate content from them is very powerful way of scaling that as well. And then, so I mean, Primane has been something that, as a strategy, I guess you've been running for a few years now. Obviously, excited now that we're now live and move that on with StoryStream. We're also looking at some other kind of areas of opportunity, particularly around product discovery beyond the PDP. I think a big consistent theme that we're seeing at StoryStream is around the role of the PDP becoming more of, like I think Charlotte mentioned, like your landing page, your route into the wider site, that it's not a linear funnel coming for something that even like a PLP or certainly homepage and things. So we've been looking at things like Shop the Look and some examples around that. Perhaps you could give some context to how you're seeing and thinking about getting, I guess, once you're in a product, how do you get discovery going out, kind of tangentially to find associated products to build UPT and things like that.
Yeah, so actually, we're really excited about Shop the Look. It's something I'm deeply passionate about, and really, it sort of covers two goals. So yes, one is around discovery, but it's really ultimately about supporting the way that customers think and buy clothes. So you don't tend to buy an item of clothing in isolation. You don't buy it because of it being a single item, how it fits into your wardrobe, the styling that you're seeing on the model. You tend to buy into the look. That person with that outfit looks great, and that overshirt is something that I need in my life. And therefore, actually, I also need probably a couple of other things that this person is wearing. And about 18 months ago, we launched a co-ord experience. So that is where you've got your summer holiday resort wear, where you've got the matching shirt and matching shorts, or hoodie and sweatpants, fam jams, all of these sorts of intrinsically related items. We've seen that be a huge commercial success for us. So what that says to us is not only is that functionality good, but really that's how customers are looking to buy those products. And it's supporting a goal that we have, which is sort of selling as we buy. So we have bought these things to be worn together. They are part of the same look, they're the same material, same color, whatever it may be. And allowing customers to be able to find them in a way that doesn't create friction. You go, right, I really like that shirt. Let me buy those trousers. Oh, I've got to go back to the search page, search for blue jeans, hope that I found the right blue jeans, because inevitably it hasn't been shot on exactly the same the same model that the shirt that you liked was on. So just removing a bit of friction in supporting customers shopping the way that they want to has been hugely valuable for us commercially. And therefore that has sort of paved the way for Shop the Look. So if someone is looking to buy things that have been styled on a model for co-ords, it sort of follows that they would like to buy several of these lovely Rita Ora items that you're all seeing right now. So that is what's paved the way. That is the sort of logical process that we've come down to be partnering with Alex and his team on trying to develop a Shop the Look experience.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's definitely an exciting development. And something I guess that is a well-known challenge and problems around, like, if you're looking at a single item and you've spent time and money styling that on a model to show like what it can look like with everything else, then make it as easy and frictionless as possible to build that outfit very quickly. The challenge has always been historically actually doing that at scale has been the prohibitive point. So I guess there's been two options. You could either use team members to do it, but to actually get like wide enough coverage has been a challenge. It's a big time suck. Also, what happens if that product goes out of stock? And the second way was, kind of legacy visual recognition tools would struggle with the nuances of a lot of products to actually make good matches and things. So it's been a really interesting process building this solution out. But we've got a novel way of being able to use AI to much more accurately and much more automatically scale kind of shop the look experiences. So something new that's coming very very soon, and excited to be kind of piloting and with Primark and others. So and I guess this leads a bit more into kind of like the final sort of topic of conversation, which is like, where is all of this type of thing going? Because I think that if you look at use of UGC as a way of bringing the community in to show social proof, but also help encourage discovery and brand consideration. Then shop the look to help you actually like find products and make all of that exciting content directly shoppable, be it your own imagery and content you've already got to help monetize or use UGC. The the kind of the next thing starts to feel, and I think Charlotte touched on a few of the kind of newer apps and things that are coming to market, where almost rethinking the whole e-commerce storefront experience. Like, how do you go from something that becomes truly hyper personalized, where you are getting content and products and experiences that are much more localized to you, but in a way that feels engaging and rewarding as well. So perhaps what are some of the maybe what you're seeing elsewhere in the market, other things you're seeing, like where do you think some of this starts to go to, and what the possibilities, thinking a little bit further ahead?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here is that I guess it's the evolution of the points that Charlotte made at the beginning. So product discovery and research really, I guess is what I want to say. Has slightly changed. So the way that you spend your time on social media, the way that you discover products and then find your way onto e-commerce platforms. Personally, I expect that people will want to land on a platform and then be able to continue that style of research and that discovery, and just a series of products related because they're all trousers is probably not what the future holds for us. So the shift in research, I think, will make its way to e-commerce platforms. And then again, sorry, Charlotte, I'm really just parroting what you said at the start here. But one of the things that we are seeing is that people aren't searching for a red dress or black trousers as much as they used to. It's intent-led search. So I want to go do this. I want to go to X event, Y holiday destination. I'm off to the races. What should I be wearing? We can see that people are doing that in social media, and they've been doing that for a little while. But the e-commerce platforms that stay with, actually, I'm just here to support a product-specific search, will probably lose out here, because people will expect to be able to have a slightly more conversation-led search journey with them. So one of the things that we're really focused on at the moment is improving our contextual product information. Won't surprise you, we launch 500 products a week on our website, and we're pretty good at pulling together all of that perfunctory product information. What is it? What's the material? Some of the design cues, features, etc. But one of the things we're looking to improve at the moment is what is the contextual product information around it? Where would you wear it, but also what would you wear it with? So this is an oversized t-shirt, and therefore if we serve you some skinny jeans, that is a particularly problematic fashion faux pas. And so having the information around how people wear these, what go together, and where you might wear them is I think where a lot of companies will spend their time improving their product information and their search journey in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a key bit to unlock the new opportunities and new experiences. And I think with a lot of talk around agentic commerce and things, like, actually the key right now seems to be investing in the foundations that enable this. There's technology and things like headless, obviously been around for a little while now, like making sure that platforms and tools can talk to each other. I think one of the areas we're seeing that relate very much to what you're saying there is also moving from data-driven ways of personalizing, which still obviously has a place, but thinking about how you can then start to use prompting actually as a way of delivering personalized experiences. So in the same way you might go to your store staff and say, we want the shop window to look autumnal because autumn's coming and we want these colors and things, like being able to talk to your website as a merchandiser to reflect that, or indeed like interpret trends automatically, but actually prompting in sort of human English language as a way of providing that experience, I think is something that unlocks, which is potentially quite exciting, particularly around conversational commerce use cases and things like that we're seeing as well. What final question, I guess, is, you know, what impact and how long do you think some of these AI tools and things are going to take to have on really moving the needle? So, you know, I guess there's a question I'm asking everyone at the moment, because there's a lot you're reading about agentic commerce. Like, will customers truly say, I just want to, how much is shopping a fun experience and actually something people want to do as entertainment, or as, you know, something that's just generally human, versus I just want an agent to take all of that off of my plate because I can do other stuff and stuff just turns up in my house, sort of thing. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, well, no surprise. We've spent quite a lot of time discussing that internally. Every single conversation we have with any agency or conference, it is all about agentic shopping. Now, I think personally as well, I'm deeply skeptical about the adoption rate of agentic shopping. So me and my boss talk quite a lot about adopted behaviors. And what you will see, and what we are seeing, is that agentic search is absolutely taking off, and that we need to be ready to be able to make sure that all of the effort we put into ranking on Google goes into ranking on ChatGPT, etc. So GEO is a huge topic for us, and we believe that if we don't have our sort of ducks in a row pretty quickly, we'll be left behind there as the adoption of that grows. But that's because it's, as we call, like an adopted behavior. People are used to searching, being served search results, and then going and shopping. What I think will take much longer to be an adopted behavior is that, to your point, I'm just going to sit there and say, I need some clothes for a party at the weekend. It's the Christmas do. I'm off to the races. I'm going into London. Send me some clothes. You know all about my personal style. I really think that is a long way off, and we are slightly skeptical when people turn up at our offices and say, you must have agentic shopping immediately. But I also believe there is joy, or people find value in the shopping experience. And, you know, there's a reason people go into stores just for a mooch around, have a little browse, see what they find. I'm sure a behavioral scientist would tell you there's something deeply innate in us of the joy of finding something that they like, specifically at a sort of price point that gives them some sort of chemical hit in their brain. So I really don't believe we're anywhere near agentic shopping taking off. I likened it with my boss the other day to like early adoption of Bitcoin. So there were a super niche